Assalamu alaikum, namaste, Haroon Nefer. This is Kasank Manak Peru with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to be a genius super learner. But before I go on to that, I want you to hit the like button in this video. If this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you're looking to take your spiritual knowledge to the next level and beyond, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. You can get exclusive access to instructional videos, videos on the esoteric, videos on how to summon spirits, how to communicate with the ancestors, how to create a magical amulet, how to do proper meditation, how to do proper breathing exercises, and how to do self-hypnosis. You will also be able to learn divination, how to do oracles. And if you are a Sarah level supporter, you'll get all your oracle readings for free. So become a Patreon supporter. You can cancel at any time. Last but not least, please share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. Haroon Nefer. So I want to tackle a very, very important subject. And a lot of things that we don't understand in this society come from the fact of concrete perspective. So that means that we basically look at things on the surface and we don't take a deep dive to understand what's going on beneath the surface. And a lot of times you'll see out there the media propaganda putting things out there, and people will celebrate these issues, but not realizing they're to your detriment because the ruling elite plays a game of chess. They're really, really very slick in how they maneuver things and position things. So many of the issues that you see come to the forefront, like feminism, LGBTQ, are not organic organizations or issues that have just made their way to the surface. They have been specifically propped to the forefront and actually created by the ruling elite. Organizations like BLM, created by the ruling elite and put out there in mainstream mass media to get media time on prime time costs millions and millions of dollars. And when you have these individuals like George Soros, they're funding money into certain think tanks and political organizations, and they put these organizations to the forefront. What they're trying to do is create factionalism, steer the culture in a certain direction. You see, when you look at organizations like LGBTQ, which only represent less than 4% of the population of the country, yet they have front page news all of the time. How is that even possible? When you look at the thing of Asian violence, where is that coming from all of a sudden? Well, these are things that are being manufactured and prompted in front of the media to get your attention and to get your support for various nefarious reasons. So don't think that these organizations, which started organically as a grassroots organization, made their way to mainstream notoriety, and now the issues become mainstream, so people are supporting it. No, that's not true. That's not how it works. So you have to understand that we are a construct, and that these think tank institutions, political institutions, and mass network marketing institutions are vying for real estate in your mind. They want to be top of mind. They want you to think about them and to act in ways that align with their organization's institutions, even though most of them are detrimental to you as a person. And they don't care, because at the end of the day, it's all about making money, reshaping the landscape, meaning reshaping the way society looks through social engineering. If they feel that they want to wipe one race out in favor of another, they can do that. If they feel that they want to overpopulate the country with immigrants so they can get less, pay less for human resources, they'll do that. And then they'll advocate for that through television, through Washington. And then along comes the whole movement where if you're not for their policies, you're against them. And they become very, very wicked in how they censor individuals who have a voice that is not popular. So we have to be aware of what's going on and take action. Now, one of the reasons why I'm pointing this out is because not too long ago, they put out a lot of propaganda about how Black women are the most educated and most enrolled in college. So those facts are incorrect. But the reason why they put that information out was a distraction. Because you see, it's okay to say that Black women are the most educated and enrolled in college, which is really what they should be saying is they have the highest college enrollment. But it's not factually true that they're the most educated. But what they do is an attempt to hide the fact that young Black boys are failing in school, that the school system has failed young Black boys. So that no appropriate measures can be taken to balance things out. And they're doing this on purpose to effeminize Black men, to miseducate them, so that you can have a stern matriarchy in place, so the community can fall apart. This is what they want to do. And the way you do that is you leave the males deaf, dumb, and blind. So while people are applauding the fact that Black women have this high enrollment, or so-called most educated, which is not, that's an incorrect statement, what you don't read about is how the school system has basically constructed itself to usher Black men into the prison industrial complex. I want you to take a look at an article that kind of sums this up in a way. Let's take a quick look at this. Here's an article titled "Black Boys in Crisis, Why Aren't They Reading?" And we just read a little bit of this. Though people outside the Black boy demographic like to think that America K-12 schools, workplaces, and courthouses are pillars of fairness, those within the grouping know better. Study after study, research report after research report, and statistic after statistic all point to a crisis among the Black boys of the nation, beginning in homes, stretching to K-12 educational experiences, and leading straight to the cycle of incarceration and increasingly high numbers. So what can be done to save this group of children that consistently seem to fall through the cracks of a society that does little to rescue them? In this series, I will look at four specific areas of especially troubling data in hopes of sparking some conversation on how, as a society, we can rethink them to produce a stronger generation of Black young men in our midst. This spring, the Black Star Project published findings that just 10% of 8th grade Black boys in the United States are considered proficient in reading. That's appalling, just 10%. In urban areas like Chicago and Detroit, that number was even lower. Reading, I'm going to go jump down. Reading is one piece of the school puzzle, of course, but is the foundational one. If the 8th graders in our schools cannot read, how will they ever learn other subjects and make it into college education? Now, here's something that was very interesting, a group behind. While it is true that Black boys often arrive in kindergarten classrooms with inherent disadvantages, they continue to experience a behind-the-8-ball mentality as their school careers progress. Black boys are more likely than any other group to be placed in a special education classes, with 80% of all education students, meaning Black or Hispanic males. Learning disabilities aside, Black students, and particularly Black boys, experience disconnection when it comes to the authority figures in the classroom. The K-12 teaching profession is dominated by white women, many who are qualified and very interested in helping all of their students succeed, but lack the firsthand experience needed to connect with their Black male students. Now, this is very, very real. Being placed in special education classes. This is done automatically regardless of if you have a learning disability or not. If they see you have attention deficit disorder, if they see that you're a slow learner, and it could be through various reasons, you're placed in these special education classes, which really are a breeding ground for troublemakers. And inevitably what happens is you don't really learn. You're surrounded by agitators, class clowns, and fights break out. And they know this because this is the idea of not educating young black men. This is done purposely. Now, while we're celebrating one group, another group is falling behind. Again, this is done on purpose. We must understand. The one group that is celebrated shields away from mainstream media the failing of a system to another group, a very important group. Now, what I want you to understand is this. The problem of learning in this education system is not as simply as students or black boys applying themselves, spending more time studying, getting tutoring. It's not that simple, and I wish it were. You see, you're faced with a system that is primarily a left brain system. This gives the advantage to the white students. This is why you have things like the bell curve that will say that blacks have a lower IQ. But when you're only testing left brain skills, then of course they're going to excel. White students are going to excel and black students are going to fall behind because most black people are right-brained in nature. So the system, which is set up based on oratory skills, lecturing, and rote memorization, is not how we learned in our native cultures in antiquity in Africa. There was for example, in African setting, when you would learn, students would be in a circle. Here we have, based on the Greek's form and structure, students sitting at desk while the teacher stands in front as a figure of authority, lecturing. When I went to school many, many moons ago, I was lectured to death and I would fall asleep in school or in classroom. Because I knew even back then that lecturing for an hour or an hour and a half is not the proper way to teach and not the proper way to learn. But that is how the system is set up, again, based on the Greek learning method of debate, philosophizing, rote memorization. And what schools usually test is not how much you understand the subject matter, but how much you can regurgitate. So you don't really have a working knowledge of the subject, nor are you learning things that will apply to life. So we have a very, very complex problem here, to where you must understand that the system is out of sync in how it should be approaching teaching black students. Now, some in the Afrocentric community has come along and said, let's teach more Afrocentric studies, meaning, you know, more studies about historically black figures, things of that nature. But that's just window dressing. That's not going to solve the inherent problem. See, the way that we would really address this and to produce geniuses coming out of the school system, and this applies to both white and black students, is to test the intelligences that exist within you, because you are an aspect of God, and God is the one that comes as the all, meaning the deities, and those deities are intelligences or netu, influences. So within you are intelligences. And these intelligences operate through your brain. This is why you have a left and a right brain. The left brain is segregated. The right brain is kind of congregative or synthesis. It looks to bring things together. The left brain looks to separate, label, and define. The right brain is creative. It's the moral center. The left brain is factual, deals with numbers and verbal communication. The right brain deals with visual imagery. And if we understand that, we can take a deeper dive and start to understand that there are different learning intelligences, which they have done studies into, and they call them tactile, kinesthetic, auditory, visual, but that's not good enough. So one of the things that we learned in the Kemetic spiritual cultivation system and studying the actual Kemetic tree of life of the Port Neteru was these intelligences are categorized as the segregated faculty, the congregated faculty, the analytical faculty, the synthesizing faculty. And these faculties, it's like going to get a blood test. If you ever go to get a blood test, your doctor can check off a form of what he wants what he wants to be checked within your blood. Now, when you're learning in school, they should be checking these faculties. They should be making sure that your segregated faculty is working well, the ability to separate, label, define, and verbally communicate what you know. Your congregated faculty should be working fine, where you know how to see the correlation, see the relationship between all things in the world. Your analytical faculty should be working perfectly. Your synthesizing faculty should be working perfectly. And there's no testing of these different faculties. And the fact of the matter, if any one of them is not working, or if there's an over-reliance on one of these faculties, then you have a skewed perspective on the world, and thus you don't learn adequately. When I went to school, I didn't realize that I was predominantly right brain. So I didn't do well in math. So I had that problem there. And instead of them understanding that there was a left brain issue, they labeled it as, oh, he's a slow learner. Not realizing that I learn best through tactile processing, meaning I need to be actively engaged, touching, feeling, moving. And that processor would help me comprehend and learn faster and become better at math. But we have a system that's designed to fail. It's not designed to look at things like that and fix it. No one, you're not gonna walk into the university and learn that you have a vitamin B deficiency, and that vitamin B deficiency has caused your slow learning ability. No, they're just going to fail you and kick you out and say that you're not up to speed, up to par. They're not going to look at the contributing factors to someone lagging behind in the education system. They're not going to look at those things. And it pains me to see individuals prompted up, like this young boy who passed the SAT or got admitted to various colleges like Yale, MIT. Those are outliers. Those are the exception, not the rule. It proves nothing. It holds from accountability the system itself. The system itself is failing, not the individuals. So their attempt to prop up this one young man as getting all of these 5 or 10 college acceptances, as though anyone can do it. No, anyone can't do it. And propping him up in that way is a slight at the majority, trying to say that you guys are lagging behind. Why don't you guys do what he's doing? Well, he's an exceptionally extraordinary individual. He has made it through. In the same way you see Black CEOs of companies and how they prop them up. These CEOs have been vetted and they've made it through the racism. And they have proven to the company that they're not going to go in and shake things up and start hiring a bunch of minorities. So let's stop propping up these tokens and let's start looking at the system itself. There's a video that was circulating on Facebook where the father was testing his son on financial literacy. So he was asking him some questions. His son was regurgitating these financial terms, and all the people were commenting, "Oh, how bright his son is, how great his son is." I go, "No, his son is not great. His son is not bright. All his son is doing is just regurgitating information he was fed. The son cannot make use of that information at his age, and the fact of the matter is the financial institutions are set up so that you fail. So him remembering some financial terms or becoming so-called financially illiterate doesn't mean anything, really. It's great that he can remember those things, but so what? That's not an extraordinary feat. That's just memorization. Go predict the next 5 stocks to rise. Then that will impress me. We have to take a detailed analytical look at the education system, the intelligences within us, to really understand how to produce geniuses and how to be super learners. This is how we can save our people. This is how we can go back to building pyramids. We're not going to go back to building pyramids by dressing up in Kemetic outfits and going, Hotep, brother, Hotep. We missed the mark on that. The Egyptians were integrated whole brain thinkers. This is how they were able to create these feats of engineering. It wasn't just about creating a culture where they write hieroglyphics and walk around going Hotep. They had an advanced way of thinking and looking at the world through whole brain. The world is predicated on left brain thinking, half a mind. The world is in a stupor state. It's never going to produce geniuses. Not at the rate we're going. And Black boys are being held back, miseducated on purpose. When I got into a special education class, my mother came in and she says, pull them out, get them out that class. It was horrific. Fighting, no learning going on. Disruption, talking. They know through their studies and through their advanced academic work that special education classes don't work. They've known this. They know that their system is predicated on left brain thinking, oratory skills, and rote memorization. They know that. You're not taught to think in a modern education system. You're not taught to think. You're taught to pass along information. Tahuti is the highest faculty because Tahuti is innovation. He's innovative in his thinking. He invents, he creates. He's a trailblazer. Sebek is a regurgitation of information. Sebek is left brain. The world is ruled by Sebek. When I got out to special education, I started reading self-help books, and I started learning that there was this thing called accelerated learning and super learning, and I wanted to get into that so badly, but I couldn't find much work on that. It's very difficult to find some really good material. I mean, there was a vast array of books on the subject, but nothing really substantial and good. Most of it was like mnemonics and really stuff that wasn't really helpful. But when I started to research antiquity and started to see what our ancestors created, like the great I-ching oracle modeled after the DNA, I'm like, how could a culture so primitive is what we call it create an oracle system that mimics the DNA structure? Because we weren't primitive, we were very advanced. And we're misusing things like the Bible and the Zodiac, because those were high levels of occult knowledge that deals with how the universe worked and how reality worked. But now we just use them as to personality types and little things here and there. And the Bible's taken as a history book, not as a book of abstract concepts based on astrotheology. We're missing that. This is because our processors don't work. We're not thinking using all of our processors. We're not whole brain thinking. We're not thinking segregatively, congregatively, analytically, and synthesizing. We're not thinking those ways. There's a breakdown, and no one's fixing it. The only thing that we're using is the OSET faculty, which is memorization, or ISIS faculty, memorization. The more you remember, the more educated they call you. Going back to the example that I was talking about before with Black women, they put on all the papers and the news media. Well, they didn't tell you that Black women are not enrolled and STEM programs. They're getting these PhDs in social sciences and psychology, and they're graduating in debt and not being able to find jobs. You want to get a degree in the STEM program. That's what you want. These degrees in the social sciences are almost worthless. And then you upsell them by saying, oh, well, your bachelor's degree or whatever is not good enough. You need to get a master's, or now you need to get a PhD, just so you can put them further in debt. And then they talk about, oh, Black women are starting the most businesses. And they prompt that number up. But they'll tell you that the businesses that these Black women have started have 0 employees and all are failing. And then Goldman Sachs says, we're going to allocate all this money to Black women. So what, they can fail more? I'm not here to pick on Black women, but I'm here to tell you, if you look at the distraction, look at the distraction. BLM posts signs everywhere. BLM, BLM, Black Lives Matter. Meanwhile, all the money they collected in billions of dollars goes to the LGBT community. Look at the distraction. If you're the most educated, why are your young boys failing in school? That doesn't make any sense. These so-called educated Black women in single-parent households are kicking butt in the university, supposedly, but yet their kids, the young Black boys, are falling behind, are failing nationwide. That's like having a college professor as a father and you as the son fail every class. How does that work? That's like Elon Musk being your father, but you can't even put together a firecracker. How does that doesn't make any sense. You see the logic with what I'm saying. Not picking on Elon Musk, not picking on Black women, not picking on Black men, but I'm telling you, I'm trying to hip you to the game of what's going on, the distraction. They need to get men out of the way. And the way they can do that is through things like the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, and emasculating Black men in mainstream media like movies and TV shows. To produce an entire nation of uneducated people who are deaf, dumb, and blind. We'll never have a Nikolai Tesla, an Imhotep. You'll never have these geniuses again. And they don't tell you, well, why are Black women in social sciences, in the soft sciences? Why are they disproportionately in those sciences? Because women are left brain. I'm sorry, women are right brain, and that's what they're going to gravitate to. If most men are left brain, most women are right brain. So the Black men will gravitate based on left brain to the STEM programs, and the women will gravitate to the social sciences. That's just how it works. That's how you're built. That's the nature of it. I want to take a minute to give a shout out to a good friend. His name is Sean James, and Sean has some great books out that I want to tell you about. And let me see if I can show you. This is a series that he has created, an awesome series. It's called the Isis series, and it's a series of 3 books: Isis, the Beauty Myth, Isis, Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, and Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. And they're available on paperback and Kindle. You can get them today. I put a link in the description box, so if you get an opportunity, please order the books. He's looking to increase sales, and I have purchased a couple of books, and they're awesome. So the Isis series specifically is great. So if you get an opportunity, and there's some great artwork there too, buy some of the books. You will love it. And Sean is really heavily immersed in the comic book graphic novel arena and the goth arena, so he's doing a lot of great work. So check that out. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but there is a way to increase your learning ability and increase your intelligence. And I am going to be teaching this a little bit more in the future. And what you're not told is that within you is the indwelling intelligence, and it's Osir. And Osir responds to you. You give Osir commands, and Osir fulfills those commands. If you say, heal myself, that indwelling intelligence starts to do the work. If you command it to remember certain things, it will. If you command it to become better at math or better at reading, it will, based on certain conditions. And this is done through trance, meditation, deep meditation, going in, communicating with the indwelling intelligence within, and giving it commands. But we're not taught this. We're not taught that this is an ability that we have. So we go through our careers and our lives getting this negative information that pumps out, that makes you feel a sense of low self-esteem, because that's what's really happening with the Black community. Is the white community is pumping out things to give us low self-esteem. And then when you implant those subliminal messages within the psyche, the indwelling intelligence actually, or the subconscious mind, let's just say it that way, acts upon that. And it dumbs you down. You know, there's a difference between saying, you know, like if you tell yourself that I'm not good at math, or you tell yourself I'm a genius in math, that could make a significant difference in how you perform on a test. They've already done the studies on this. So why isn't this applied? Why aren't we learning these commands? Well, there's a whole field called neuro-linguistic programming, which deals with this, commanding the subconscious mind to perform certain acts. We know athletes already involved in this to improve their performance. But why isn't this adapted by the school system? Because they don't want to produce geniuses. They don't want to improve. They don't want to see academic improvement among the African American community. They don't want to see that. So these advanced techniques of producing geniuses through the process of deep meditation or trance has been removed and put on the peripheral, even though you created it in antiquity. We already know through hypnotherapy you can rid yourself of certain pains in the body. We know that, to where you don't need painkillers. We know that you can relieve your headaches through deep meditation. So it's only the next level to command your spirit to achieve excellence in this subject, or an A. You can do it. But you're not taught that. When I got into project management and I wasn't doing well, what did I do? The first thing I did was I had to put myself into trance. And I said to myself, you're an excellent project manager. And I performed so well, they pulled me into HR and they said, we want to hire you. I had no experience. I had no experience. I just sat there and meditated. And I started rocking in every aspect of project management, digital project management. And I think I told this story before. I was sitting at my desk designing the website, we call it user experience. The head of HR comes and says, "Kassan, can I see you in the office?" And I stood up and I thought I was done. I said, okay, they know I don't know anything about project management. They found out I'm in trouble. So I walked in the office and sat down. She says, "Are you all right?" Because I was nervous. I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, we'd like to hire you." I'm like, huh? This is real stuff that we have to tap into that can take us to the next level and beyond as a people. I'm going to say it again. We're not going to build pyramids again, dressed in African or Kemetic garb going hotep to each other. That's not going to happen. We're not going to build pyramids by teaching Black history and historical figures. I know you like learning about Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, Sojourner Truth, all of these. And that's great to learn that, but that's not going to get us to build pyramids. And anyone that tries to tell you that is stupid. You're going to have to change the way that you think. We're going to have to move from left brain to whole brain thinking. That's not going to be easy. That is not going to be easy. Because we have been trained as a default to think left brain, separation. And society has been constructed that way. But the world would change if we embrace this. Can you imagine embracing whole brain learning? Whole brain learning dictates that there is no enemy. All things are one. So can you imagine talking to another student who has learned in a traditional education way, and that person saying, that political party is wrong, they're the enemy, and you, a whole brain learner, saying, no, everything complements each other, there's no enemy. The Hegelian dialectic, which says thesis and antithesis, that is done away with through whole brain thinking, because whole brain thinking says nothing opposes the other. One complements the other. That's an end to racism. That's an end to sexism. Whole brain thinking says you are consciousness. You are not the physical body. Whole brain thinking says there's no such thing as polytheism and monotheism. All things are one. The all comes as the one, and the one comes as the all. Wrap your brain around that. It's going to change the dynamics of everything to embrace whole brain thinking. In whole brain thinking, you don't think, oh, you shouldn't be dating this Black girl or this white man or this white woman. Whole brain thinking doesn't think that way. It doesn't look at the world that way. It's a vastly different way of perceiving the world through abstractional analysis. It looks at nature and can see the presence of God, not on a concrete level or on an abstraction level, due to the interdependence and interrelationship of all things, which prove the existence of God, the ecosystem. Many of the scientists of yesteryear have made critical errors because they were trapped in left brain thinking. Critical errors. Nikola Tesla was the first one to come along and thought whole brain. He says, you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency. And it's the right brain, the seat of morality, that can solve all the moral problems that we have if we tune into it. We try to solve the moral problems of the world through the left brain. The left brain does not solve moral problems. It's good for facts and figures and data, but it cannot solve moral problems. This is why the ancient Greeks and even our government system today is caught in the paralysis of analysis. They don't know how to solve these problems. Is abortion right or wrong? Is homosexuality right or wrong? They can't figure that out because they're trying to use the left brain to determine what's right and what's wrong, when that's the right brain arena. But they're so dead set on not using the right brain for those specific purposes. Learning institutions refuse to use trance to learn. That's how you learn. It's through the process of trance. But they want you to learn using oratory skills. They want you to read passages, reread passages until it puts the left brain to sleep and gets transferred to the right brain where your long-term memory is. Instead of just putting the person in trance, reading it once, and then it's retained in the long-term memory. See how backwards everything is? Holistic medicine looks at the totality of the person, and it sees indirect relationships not based on Cartesian logic. And that's how it looks at how to heal the person. It doesn't always attack the problem dead on, because what may be causing your backache could be related to your foot or your digestive system and not directly your back. You say you have a backache, your doctor says, oh, you're sitting wrong. That may not be true. Could be a digestive issue. But we're so hell-bent on not embracing whole brain thinking, holistic thinking. So I want you to think about this, about how we can go back and build that culture, rebuild that civilization of Atlantis, of ancient Egypt, but not approach it from a very concrete, materialistic, superficial way. Give me a dashiki, or give me some clothes. The Black Panther was a great movie, but it was very primitive in its thinking, because it said, oh, there's this stone vibranium that made them more advanced. No, what made the ancient people more advanced was whole brain thinking. They didn't need vibranium. And I'll leave it here. I'll do future videos that really take a deep dive into understanding advanced super learning techniques. So hopefully maybe we can get back to where we were as a high-tech, high-moral society of antiquity. This is Gusak Keperu, son of Ma'an Turi. Ma'an is a beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.